Welcome to the 36th episode of the Broken Pictures podcast show, podcast / YouTube show, where we discuss the top 3 things that you may have missed in pop culture.
I couldn't think of one, so it's just gonna be this regular sounding me. Could potentially be spoilers for your favorite TV shows, movies, video games, and/or comics. Live from Northwest Arkansas, this is
the FOMO Show. Hey guys, this is Dylan.
This is Quin.
Oh, my bad. Hey nerds, I meant to say that. But anyways, as you can see, Lydia is out, but she's here in spirit. So thanks for joining us today, whether you're new to the show or you're returning. We're glad to have you guys along for the ride, and we hope you'll join us every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time for live on YouTube. And please like, subscribe, hit the little bell icon so you know when we drop a new video. And podcast listeners, please leave us 5 stars in your podcast app. And don't forget to check out that website at www.broken.pictures.com. And also, don't forget to check out our other show. Right now, we've got The Broken Dead, which is where we talk The Walking Dead on Sundays, 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on YouTube. And another special note, I just want to say happy birthday to my sister. Her birthday was last Wednesday, so I was a little off on that. But I did say happy birthday to her personally. I mean, not in person because she lives far away, but we texted.
Yay.
And also happy birthday to one of my groomsmen, John Capone, one of my lifelong friends. His birthday is Thursday, so happy birthday, brother.
Happy birthday.
And, excuse me. So, oops. Let's see. Spoiler alert, in case you, well, he didn't do a voice this time.
So you completely understood what I said.
Yeah, so I'll just go through the formality. You know, we won't spoil your fandom on purpose, but we will get into spoiler territory and talk about newsworthy items. All right, so what did you guys watch this week? What are you into? Let's see if I can find the right screen. Hey, there we are. Boom.
So weird. It's just 2 of us. Okay.
Dun, 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 dun.
Wow.
So what did you guys watch this week? What are you into? What did you read, listen to, play, video games, whatever? Should we miss it or not miss it, or don't miss it? So Quinn, what were you into this week?
I can't remember. Well, no, okay. I watched Men in Black International. Yeah, this is hard to be the first time I ever say this. You could probably miss it. Yeah.
Yikes.
It was okay.
I was worried about that.
But it doesn't, like, what they tried to do was like capture the feel of that first Men in Black movie, but they did, but it still felt like it wasn't.
Yeah.
Like there was too much that came before, and then they tried to do too much of the same but different at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, so it's.
I just have to see it, I guess.
It's got Men in Black, got neuralizers. You put on the suit, but then it's like, is this a spy movie? That's what it felt like at the end of it.
Maybe it was too international. I had issue from day one where they were like Men in Black International, and I was like, you mean Interstellar? Like, okay, so yeah, we've already established that we're a galactic thing and this is aliens and everything, but we're just gonna jump the pond a little bit, expand the universe.
Super hard, yeah.
It's like, okay. But anyways, I don't know.
It was kind of like the first movie if Will Smith was a girl and she knew Men in Black existed. That's it.
Yeah, it said in the trailer, it was like, I found you.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, you can't. I love Tessa Thompson. I love Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
I mean, I was kind of hoping. I was pulling for him.
Yeah, it was all right, but you can miss it if you want to. What was the other thing? Season 5 of Schitt's Creek is on Netflix. I've been watching that. And Dr. Stone.
Dr. Stone? What's that one?
It's an anime. I've been watching the dub version, so don't crucify me. On Toonami every Saturday, just because that's when I started watching it. I've just been awake.
Toonami. I remember Brack. Hi, everybody. I'm Brack.
Yeah, I remember Brack too. Yeah, that suppressed childhood memories of nightmares. But Dr. Stone is an anime about it's 3,800 years in the future. It's like 3,000 years in the future, but everybody's got frozen to stone and they don't know why. And the ones that haven't been frozen in stone, they're just kind of living like primitively. But Dr. Stone used to be a scientist, and Is
he responsible? Is that why he's called
He's
Dr.
not.
Stone?
No, because he's going around and unfreezing everybody, but he unfroze one person, and now it's like they're gonna have a war because he used to be like a world champion martial artist, and so he wants to like unfreeze people that are equally strong and kind of create like a Conan the Barbarian society.
Unfroze the wrong person.
Yeah, right. So
he's gonna have to freeze him back.
Or blow him up.
It's like, no thanks.
But yeah, that's all I've been watching.
So miss or don't miss?
Don't miss. It's really good. I enjoy it.
Cool. Let's see. For Pizza Movie Night this week, we watched How to Train Your Dragon 3: The Hidden World, which was pretty good. I mean, every single one of those don't miss. Like that's a good really series. Good. We finally got to see it. Our daughters saw it like when it first came out on disc or whatever, but so we hadn't like made it a priority, even though we really wanted to see it. So some cartoons are good movies, guys.
I wanted to go to theaters to see it. I didn't have a chance to.
I'm a 40-year-old man that likes cartoons. My brother's in his 30s and he's not a grown-up stuff.
I'm 26. I like cartoons.
Yeah. You'd rather watch men run around in pads and smack each other's butts, throw a pigskin around. Yeah, that's grown up. Shots fired.
Okay.
Just saying. Okay. It's like it's all about perspective, right?
I guess, yeah.
Just because it's drawn doesn't make it less real. Anyways, I did sleep last night, so this isn't just like crazy lack of sleep done. So, and I do have notes, so I have slept and I am well prepared. I'm finally caught up, and we're in a good place with this. So thank you for sticking with us. What was this, the 4th live show? Yes. And I actually slept last night. So yeah. Woo. So let's see. What else did I watch? So we've been trying to catch up on Fear. We haven't watched an episode of Fear this week. We did watch The Walking Dead started back, and we watched the season 10 premiere. And you can go watch our show, The Broken Dead, where we talk The Walking Dead. And it's right here on YouTube, lives on YouTube. And we did a show Sunday night where we talked about that. Or that was not the premiere, but the second episode. Yeah, the second episode. So yeah, that one's kind of got people divided. Like some people were like, "That is a really good episode, just character development and all." And but if you're Lydia, it's just like, "Oh my, this is ridiculous." So that's her point of view. That's what she brings to the show. And differences are great. That's what makes the show fun, makes things interesting as you get to debate who liked what.
Just making sure we're live.
Yeah, we're live.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, we won't get too far into the Walking Dead episode, but it was I thought it was all right episode.
It's a good filler episode. I mean, I think it's going to make more sense later on, and it's one of those that you got to lay the groundwork in order to get somewhere else more exciting, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, it definitely wasn't one of those shock and awe episodes, and that's okay.
Yeah. Ours was because we realized the timeline makes no sense.
Yeah, 7 years ago. What?
I'm just like, no, yep, but all right.
Yeah, you can't think too hard about those. Like like why don't they have infections like all over their skin? They're wearing like sepsis, like that stuff from their nasal cavities and their eyes. Like can't think too hard about stuff like that. But anyways.
I'm thinking too hard about it now.
Sorry, I just ruined it for you. So yeah, I'm still playing The Witcher Part 3. it's gonna be a while.
Gonna still be playing that.
Yeah, the rest of my life, and it's good. But I'm waiting for The Witcher to come out on Netflix. So I think I'm solid into the world now, where I'm starting to understand like his relationship with Yennefer and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, not Jennifer, Yennefer. Yeah, welcome to fantasy, folks. Speaking of fantasy, you ready for D&D this afternoon?
Are y'all ready? Are y'all ready? Because y'all are going to die. I'm not going to try and kill you, but something's going to try and kill you.
Not to get cocky, but you said that last time, and we walked
last
out
time,
unscathed, so.
I forgot y'all had a changeling in the party that get and so being fair, if I wasn't fair, I could have been like, no, he knows it's not you. Get out of here.
Yeah.
But I was being fair, so whatever.
I was waiting for you to be like, you don't smell like so-and-so. It's like, I don't know. Like, I'm new to D&D, so it's like, I don't know if these characters, like, when a changeling, does he smell like?
He would have smelled if she didn't roll so high in performance. That's why I had her roll performance. It's like, oh, well, you completely fooled him. He's just, his heads are in the clouds now.
Yeah. We got super lucky. We went through this dungeon fortress thing, and we just basically just skipped through it.
Yeah.
Quinn was so mad.
They skipped a lot of things. Not anymore. They're
too smart for our own good.
First thing, boss fight. That's what's happening.
Yeah. Sorry if I'm getting cocky and I'm ruining my party's chances of survival this afternoon.
They have no idea what they're in for now.
Yep.
Okay.
Dungeon Master Quin.
All right. Well,
yeah, I think.
Yep. Okay.
Is that it? That's all.
That's all I had.
Are you ready?
Yep. The number one movie of the week is still The Joker. And it's sitting pretty with a critic score of 68 on Rotten Tomatoes. The audience score might have went down a little bit.
1 point.
1 point to 89%, which is still really good and really high. I'm pretty sure it's like the number one movie around the world maybe right now. Mm-hmm. And it is... we're going to talk about it later today, but just real brief. If you haven't seen it, I think you should see it. But no, you might have some mixed feelings leaving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're going to get more into that because our number 3 thing today is our Joker movie review. Excuse me. And so we're not going to get too much into it right now, but yeah. Yeah. It's
yeah. Yeah. All right.
So I guess let me go ahead and can you like kind of talk while I fill out?
I can most definitely do that. So yeah. Well, the top 3 things this week are all kind of going to be something really all a little bit polarizing in their own way because one of them makes me uncomfortable because of numbers. So, but yeah. Now on to the top 3 things this week. Number 1.
Let me get it.
Wait. Okay. Number 1.
All right. So I put my face in here because I kind of hijacked this one. So is Disney buying Spider-Man? Like, this is a rumor going around. Let me just establish it before we get into our discussion about it. So Nerdist is reporting a rumor from notorious Marvel leaker Mikey Sutton. If you're in on leaks and rumors and all that kind of stuff, you know who this guy is. He's got some hits and misses. I mean, he's definitely leaked some stuff that came to be true. So take it with a grain of salt because it's not official word, but there's a possibility because this guy has been right before.
Yeah.
So But the rumor is that Disney is interested in buying Spider-Man from Sony outright. And as we all know, based on what we just went through with Spider-Man and being out of the MCU and back in again, all that whiplash that we experienced with that, we know that this is kind of a big deal, and this might be okay. So let's talk about the pros and cons of like why this could be a thing and why this possibly is not really a thing.
Okay. I guess let's start with the good or the bad. Start with the bad.
Either one. Okay. Well, just a couple facts. So they're looking to pay. Rumors say $4 to $5 billion for the Spider-Man rights from Sony. That might sound like a lot because Disney originally paid $4 billion for Marvel itself.
4.24 billion.
Yeah. And about $4 billion for Lucasfilm, Star Wars.
Half of that in cash. He said, "I want half of that in cash." All of that makes me so uncomfortable.
And so Sony originally only paid $7 million for the Spider-Man rights. Not only Spider-Man, but they also got not Fantastic Four. They got Ghost Rider and Daredevil. And those rights reverted back. So right now it's just Spider-Man. And we're looking at $5 billion with a B, $1 billion
for one dude.
So just a couple facts on the other side. Bob Iger in his new book, I can't remember, something about the ride or whatever. It's his new book where he talks about like the behind the scenes of like putting this conglomerate giant. He's the head of Disney, by the way. He put it all together. He's the one that Disney now owns Pixar, Lucasfilm, Marvel. Who else? ESPN.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that one.
National Geographic. Like lots. He's the one that orchestrated all this. And smoothly, by the way. This like he's known as like the deal maker. Like, I mean, Trump doesn't hold a candle to this. I knew you knew I was gonna say something, that's why you're laughing. But so like when George Lucas was interested in selling Lucasfilm, he wouldn't go to anyone else but Bob Iger because Bob Iger had this reputation of treating people right and doing it smoothly and both parties being happy, which is what
you need if you're gonna sell your baby.
Exactly. I mean, you don't want. Sometimes these things just like, okay, I'm just taking it and you're gonna like it, and nobody likes that.
No.
Excuse me. But anyway. So in his book, he mentioned the value of Spider-Man in his book. So, I mean, Disney does have eyes on Spider-Man. They understand that Spider-Man is worth a lot of money. And recently, the back and forth with Sony and Marvel, or Disney rather, Marvel didn't really have a whole lot to do with it. But it was the head of Marvel, the head of Disney Pictures, which is Alan Horn, going back and forth with the head of Sony Pictures, and I forget the guy's name, but they were the ones kind of going back and forth, and the in and out, whether they were going to cut a deal and keep Spider-Man in the MCU. And then news came out that Tom Holland was the one that got them all back on the phone and was like, "Come on, guys, the fans," and got all this stuff. And while that seems like a nice story, is like, I mean, Hollywood Reporter is reporting that the talks were dead and Tom Holland kind of revived things and got them talking again. And that's a great story, but it seems like that's probably just spin, because they lost a lot of goodwill with the fans over this back and forth. And so, Spider-Man fixed it.
Spider-Man fixed the Spider-Man problem.
Yeah, so so that kind of repairs some of the goodwill, and that's just good business, and that kind of thing. So, but Bob Iger went on, I want to say Jimmy Fallon, and was talking about the value of Spider-Man and how we weren't talking, and Tom Holland, opened our eyes and
Opened our
that kind of thing.
Okay.
So I mean, and he doesn't do appearances like that normally.
Yeah.
So this kind of seems like, oh, this is the spin cycle.
Make it look real good.
Yeah.
And everything.
The spin zone.
But
Anyways, if you ever watch that show.
But I mean, Spider-Man is like a super valuable character, not just for like Sony and Marvel and Disney as far as like having movie rights, but alone, I don't know if it still is because I haven't looked at it in a while, but I know back in 2012 when they did the San Diego Comic-Con that year, they had everyone that went do like a vote to see what the most popular characters in comic book history were, and number one on that list was Spider-Man. Batman was number 2 on the greatest and the most popular list, which was really funny. He was number 2 to Spider-Man and Superman.
Yeah. And speaking of Spider-Man, so Disney gets Spider-Man merch, like in this Sony deal with Spider-Man. Sony doesn't get the merch; they get the money off the movies, right? Mm-hmm. Unless it's like a Spider-Man in the MCU movie, like Spider-Man in Captain America: Civil War, then Marvel gets that money. But the merch alone is like $1.3 billion a year. I mean, like, this is an extremely valuable character.
Yes.
Insane.
That's ridiculous.
So,
these numbers.
like, to me, it's like, plus Spider-Man Far From Home made over $1 billion in the box office by itself.
1.11 billion.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you're talking about like, hey, let us just go ahead and buy that from you, like, you better be talking billions, because there's like, all we got to do is make one more movie and we're making another, potentially. I mean,
$1 billion.
yeah, I mean, they're probably, if they did it without Disney and he was not in the MCU, definitely would not be making $1 billion. Like,
No.
I don't think anybody is delusional about that.
Because it would be so weird and awkward, and they couldn't say things like, "Oh, wait, didn't you like?" No, don't say that. Like, he just randomly stops them from saying,
Tony who? That guy that you were with, what happened to him? I don't know. What about Washington, D.C.? Never been there.
Man.
Not even like Europe? What's Europe?
Nick who? What?
Angry. Fury?
Who's Nick and why is he so furious?
Yeah.
One eye, that's why he's furious.
Yep. Stupid flirkins. Flirkins.
Real quick. I'd skip to the end credits. I didn't, and I wasn't expecting like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, spoilers. You heard the spoiler alert, so
yeah, okay.
we might talk some stuff.
Talos was Nick Fury the whole time?
Yeah.
What?
According to Tom Holland, he didn't even know.
He didn't even know.
Jake Gyllenhaal said he knew about either 2 weeks or 2 months before they started filming.
What? So they didn't tell me? No, they didn't.
Yeah,
What?
I mean, which is like, of course we don't tell you secrets, Tom, because you go on Twitter and tell everybody. Today I was on the scene with Nick Fury.
So when this comes up, take him Tom, stop.
He'd be looking like Happy trying to talk to Nick Fury, like, things aren't as they seem.
What are you doing with your eye, kid?
So yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So I mean, outside the fact that they'd be just like abruptly ending the huge story plots that they set up. If Spider-Man went back into the Sonyverse without finishing that story, there's no way they would touch $1 billion. No way.
Maybe 100 million. But
And I mean, it's arguably Venom was a fluke.
yeah.
And they're banking on that because they're going all in with Venom 2. And it's like, oh, yeah, we've got our own thing. It's like, okay, Into the Spider-Verse, like, that was a good movie. Like, I don't think you can legitimately say that was a fluke.
No.
Venom it was like that was a fluke.
That might have been
Like, nobody
yeah.
expected that.
No.
And it's great. I mean, it was an okay movie. I still haven't seen it yet. I've been trying to see it.
Smooth think Venom did. I can't think of anything else that was out when Venom came out, and I think that's why it did as well as it did. Because it was like, it's a Marvel movie, but it's just here by itself. Like, oh, it has to be somewhat good. Let's go see that.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where people, went in with low expectations, and then it turned out to be better than they expected. So they're like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And it's like Fast and the Furious. You go into those movies and you don't expect a whole lot. You expect to be entertained, and that's it. You're not expecting character development. Some of the excuse me, I just burped again. Some of the other elements that Marvel movies have been known for is more than just a spectacle.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into in number 2, our second thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've seen the thumbnail and read the description.
Oh, yeah. Oh, those exist. Duh. Okay. What was what was other things? Other things with Spider-Man. I don't think it would. As it's seen in the past, Spider-Man's only done well once by itself. Like back in '99 when Spider-Man first came out.
Maguire.
Yep. It did well 1 and 2, 3, yeah.
Yeah, but you also got to think like that was the first like official live action Spider-Man we ever got outside of just like appearances on Sesame Street where he'd throw the web on or whatever, and then that little blip of a TV show that tried to happen. Yeah.
Okay.
It was bad.
Okay.
It's like 70s something or whatever. Yeah.
All right then.
So that was like the first fully realized live action Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So of course it did well.
And it was the birth of like, I'm not gonna say superhero movies because like Batman and Superman been doing it for like since forever.
Yeah, Warner Brothers has been doing superheroes for a long time. And doing it well. Marvel's been trying for a long time. They finally got it.
And it's like, now y'all need to catch up. And there's like, okay, we'll just let you have your moment, I guess.
I don't know because they tried. They put the cart before the horse, but they tried
and pushed it down the hill.
And now they're like, whoa, wait, flip, reverse. Let's try that again.
Are wheels supposed to be on this thing? I think we're supposed to have wheels on this. But yeah, well, that's a whole nother thing. But a good side, a pro to this, if they do spend $5 billion.
Yeah, which I think they could.
They definitely could. Oh God. Ugh.
I think it makes sense to pay that much, especially when you've got a $1 billion movie franchise already, and all the planning that Sony has already done with Venom 2, Morbius, and all these other ones they're trying to do with Into the Spider-Verse and these live action shows that they're wanting to do based on Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
Like I could see paying $5 billion. I
can see paying $5 billion now, just because I was just thinking like just for Spider-Man the movie rights for Tom Holland's Spider-Man by itself. But if you like add in like how much potential money they could make from all the other movies, and then like the actors and getting paid for that stuff that they would have to pay, and like screenwriters and all that, it could add up to being like $5 billion. They might just like round it up. It might be like that. But they just round it up.
Yeah.
But if they do buy Spider-Man, they don't have to ever worry about this ever happening again, and they have everything back in their little box.
That's right.
And
the only other thing they have is the distribution rights are still of Hulk and potentially Namor are still caught up with Universal.
That's fine.
And that's just film distribution.
Yeah.
So I mean, they could technically have a Hulk TV show and
show up and
just fine.
I'm sure Mark Ruffalo will be all right.
Yeah, he don't care.
He's like, I'm just happy to be here, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, he's literally just like, hey, guys, I'm here.
But yeah, anything else on Spider-Man?
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
What happened?
I have to do a proper Hulk impression. Hey, guys.
Yeah. Oh, you kids want a picture? Okay, hold on. All right.
All right, yeah. Oh God, go. Okay.
Oh,
Sorry.
Professor Hulk.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
So I'm sorry. You were in the middle of a thought.
Oh, anything else on Spider-Man?
I can't think of anything. I think there's a potential if this is actually true. For one, why after they just cut another deal with Sony, or maybe they cut the deal and they were just like, you know what,
Let's just buy it.
we might as well, So
Yeah.
this could potentially be a thing after. It's like, okay, Sony, do your Venom 2, do your Morbius, and then we'll talk.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about still 2 years out, just for the Spider-Man solo, Spider-Man 3, to finish out that plot line, and then he's still got one more MCU movie on in the deal,
New Avengers?
potentially.
I mean,
So we've still got 2 movies before we even talk about buying. If they were to buy it right now, I mean Disney, yeah, they got money to throw around, but I
think they might just. I think it will be. If they are going to buy it, they probably will wait till after Spider-Man 3. Just be like, okay, we've done this for 3 movies. We've shown you that we can do it. Just let us have it. But also, they got a lot of stuff on their plate because they got Disney Plus about to come out and all these other shoes that they still got to manage and get going.
they're just going to hire more people.
They're
They're just going to widen their plate.
Yeah. It's like, oh, my 2 steaks are falling off. Give me another plate, please. Okay, now they're fine.
I need a steak plate.
So, yeah, but we'll see where that ends up here in the near or distant future.
Yeah,
But, all right,
we'll see.
we'll see.
Shoot, I was going to say something else, but I forgot. Oh, well.
But speaking of spectacles and how superhero movies are, for most of them, proving to be more than that, there is one man who thinks that they're just nothing but theme park movies.
Yep.
And that leads us to number 2.
If I can get the transition to work.
If this stuff works.
There we go. So, yeah, I'm hijacking this one, too, because...
Okay.
because I am I mean, of course you're invested as well, but I took it just because I could. This one, like, I am a huge Scorsese fan, and last week we did just the setup for this one. So last week we did Scorsese versus the MCU. He's trolling the MCU, and so last week he said, talking about Marvel movies, and this wasn't like an official statement or anything like that. He just was asked, and so he answered, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't really fault him on that. He was just straight out asked. He said, "I don't see them. I tried, but that's not cinema. Honestly, the closest thing I could think of them, as well made as they are, the actors doing the best they can under the circumstances, is theme parks. It isn't the cinema of human beings trying to convey emotional, psychological experiences to another human being." And that fired up the internet a little bit. And but
a little bit.
Yeah. So I mean, people were just like, "Oh, come on, Martin Scorsese! Like you don't see him, but you're saying it's this." And so that, I think that was the big contention, is that you're saying you're judging something you haven't really seen or invested in. Like somebody, I think John Campea. Like I'm getting a lot of this from John Campea because, yeah, I'm a film buff and I love Scorsese and I watch a lot of films, but I'm by no means a big respectable critic or anything like that. So I defer to somebody like John Campea, who is a big respectable critic and knows films in and out and backwards and forwards. Not to the level of even Scorsese. Obviously, nobody hits that level, which is where this kind of gets dicey, because he is freaking Martin Scorsese, like the god of cinema.
Yeah.
And
the grandfather, if you would.
Yeah. So so for him to make comments like that, it's like, really? I mean, you know what you're talking about, but this is obvious that you don't know what you're talking about, which is, it's like you're above this. So this past week, he was at the BMI London Film Festival, and he doubled down. And he
Super
was,
hard.
yeah, he was at a panel in front of folks, and I guess somebody asked him about it again. I don't know, or if he just made a flat out statement, but he doubled down. And he said, it's not cinema, it's something else. We shouldn't be invaded by it. We need cinemas to step up and show films that are narrative films. So.
Makes no actual... Hey, I'm not on my phone. Makes
So
no...
I don't know if you see behind me, I've got a Raging Bull poster behind me. So, like, I'm in full display. Like, I mean, the Seventh Samurai, like... I love classic movies. Like people like Scorsese are ones that got me to, like, because when I was a kid I hated black and white movies. Like there's no color, it's not fun.
Oh, yeah.
But as I grew up and got older, it was like, okay, well, I understand everything I like had an origin. Like it was inspired by something. And I mean, if you look at like the Seven Samurai, like the Japanese film, Akira, I can't remember his name right now, but the director that did the Seven Samurai and the sequel to that, like every modern action film is based on that premise, like every one of them. And where you got like the reluctant hero
yes.
and the protector, all that, right? Like all those elements come from those two movies. So, and the same is true with Scorsese, where all these the movies that he's making are inspired by some foreign film, some old film that came before. That I mean, I don't know. So basically, the first comment we could kind of give it to him because it's like, okay. Yeah, the only real argument we have is just like, oh yeah, you stepped on my toes. I like these movies. But at the same time, how can you criticize and say that you don't like them when you haven't seen it?
I think Martin Scorsese is just set in his ways. Like, there's gonna be no convincing this man.
Yeah.
And like arguing with him, it seems like it's just gonna be to no end, and you'll be arguing for the next year. Like 2020, this time we'll still be talking about it. Yeah. But I think it's just for the simple fact that he grew up one way and he has been making movies another way his whole life, and so he's seeing these things, like they're making all this money and having all these people go to him and breaking records and everything. It's like, that's cool, but I can go to Disney World and I see the same thing. That's what he's really saying that he sees. Mm-hmm. Is like they are just big spectacles to attract people, so that these companies that now have the rights to all these things that make money just to make money.
Yeah. So, and other people in the industry have come out and said similar things. Most recently, Jennifer Aniston also said that she wants a return to like Meg Ryan type movies, like Terms of Endearment, things like that. But the idea behind this is that somehow these big spectacle movies, these Marvel movies, because they're so in your face, because they're so popular, they're everywhere, right? And you've got the toys, the pictures, the posters, the ads, they're everywhere. And so the idea is that, well, if those things weren't taking up all the space, you got a pie, right? And it's taking up 99% of the pie, and it's not making room for films like I like, and if those weren't there, then there'd be more things like I like. But that's faulty because it's not a pie.
It's not.
There's, how many, like 7-8 billion people in the world?
It's its own pie, and there are other pies.
Exactly. And even when you look at the numbers, last year alone in 2018, AMC, and I got these numbers from John Campia, but he's a film critic. He used to work for AMC, and so he knows his stuff. AMC alone showed over 200 different films in theaters. Indie films, foreign films, all kinds of films. Superhero films accounted for less than 5% of that pie. So you can't say, oh, well, you know, they're squeezing out narrative films. They're choking the life out of the real films. It's like, they're 5%. It's like, it's because they're fun and thing attractive and they're good. Yeah. And it's the same age-old argument of high art versus populist art. It's the same thing. It's always been that way. And even like Martin Scorsese right now, okay, dude, your film, The Irishman right now, it was so expensive that no modern studio could afford to make it, much less make money off of it after they made it. Yeah. So he was with shoot, I can't even remember the studio he was with that was going to make it, and with the actor the technology to make the actors look young.
Yeah.
Like kind of the same thing they did on Gemini Man, right?
Yep.
With Will Smith.
What do I call that machine? I call that
de-aging or something.
The fountain of youth. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the de-aging machine with the thing that and then yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, they've got plus the top tier actors they've got with Scorsese. They got Joe Pesci coming out of retirement. They got Al Pacino. I mean, Ray Romano is in this film.
What?
Yeah. So I mean, they've got great talent. I mean, like legendary talent on top of Scorsese himself, writing and directed this, right?
Yeah, that's expensive.
So it just the money the film just kept getting more and more expensive. I mean, you're talking about I want to say in the ballpark of like $150 million to make this movie.
It's expensive for just like a okay, yeah.
And you put that movie in theaters, and yeah, it's a narrative slow film. Yeah, it's going to get Oscar nods. It might even get Best Picture, but it's not going to make $1 billion. It's not going to be $1 billion movie.
No,
I mean,
not.
And so you might look at that and say, well, that's not fair. Stupid Spider-Man made $1 billion, and it's a freaking sequel.
Literally, okay, Irishman, you can't have your kids just sit there and say, okay, kids, watch this movie, it's gonna be fun. Yeah. Like, you can't have your kids watch that. Spider-Man, you can take your 5-year-old nephew, your 3-year-old, don't take your 3-year-old to the movies. You can take your 3-year-old to see it at home, but like it appeals to a wider audience. Like, your movie is probably really good, but there's a certain number of people that can't watch it for whatever reason, or shouldn't be watching it because of what also those exact same reasons, or like it just doesn't appeal to them in that same way.
And that's just math. It's like it appeals to more people, so it's going to make more money, get more viewings.
Yeah,
like that's just math. And go ahead.
Well, didn't Irishman come out on Netflix?
Not yet. It's
about
to make a 2-week run in theaters.
Okay.
Or in certain theaters.
Well, also, like, going back to something we talked about a few months back with Steven Spielberg saying that movies on Netflix shouldn't be considered for like awards or anything.
Yeah.
Like, so if Irishman comes out and it gets Oscar nods, or you win something off of it, like, you need to turn to Steven Spielberg and be like, hey, this is cinema too under here on Netflix.
Thank you.
Like, it's
so yeah. And even so, there's plenty of holes in this theory that he has about certain movies being cinema and certain movies not being cinema. Excuse me. Just the fact that, yeah, his movie, the only reason it's getting made is because Netflix, a studio that wasn't even around 10 years ago, started out as a DVD distribution platform and is now making original content. That one came in, swooped in, and saved your movie.
Yep. And Spielberg says you shouldn't get an award for it.
Yeah. So I mean, how can you how can you say that these type of new things, and that's not even a new argument. I mean, on back to the John Campea show. On the John Campea show, one of his co-hosts, Rob, I can't remember his last name, is a film critic, and like I'm talking about like a walking cinema digest, and he adores superhero films and comics and all this stuff, because if you step back and you look at it, populist stories are high art stories. Like, I mean, that is also the same argument that was happening with Andy Warhol. It's like, oh, he's drawing a Campbell's can, or he's just repurposing photos of Marilyn Monroe. Like, how is that art? It's absolutely art. Art is open to interpretation.
It is.
So, go ahead.
If it wasn't like, I wouldn't be going for the museum here and see like several Andy Warhols. People wouldn't be coming up and asking me, hey, where are all your Andy Warhol paintings or drawings? Like, it's art. And like further down the line, like these movies are going to be looked at in a different light, and whether it be just like, oh, these were just like really good movies, or whether it's just a phase, but only time will tell.
Yeah, and it's okay to not like certain movies. There are people that don't like crime gangster movies, Marty. And so, I mean, if you don't like superhero movies, if you don't like this type of movie, you don't like that type of movie, that's fine. But you don't have to say, oh, it's not real because I don't like it. You know what I mean? It's like, that's just ridiculous. That's just being a troll. Mm-hmm. And you're no different than all those people on the internet. It's like, oh, I don't like it, so I'm going to tear it down and be a keyboard warrior. Like, there's no different. There's no difference. Hashtag don't be a troll. So I can't get behind this. Just the fact that he's saying that they're being invaded by these movies. Like, oh, 5% is invading your theater, is invading your space. If that, I mean, I'm going to have to get political. That's like saying you've got a degree and you're worried about an immigrant coming over here and taking your job. Somebody that has never been to school or even possibly even graduated, definitely doesn't have a degree. Somebody that came across the border or whatever, and you're worried about them taking your job. It's like, bro, they're not even the same caliber worker that you are. It's like they're not on the same level. And not to put down certain immigrants or whatever. I'm just saying, like, it's a ridiculous thing to say, oh, they're taking our jobs. Like, no, they're not. They're doing the jobs you don't want to do.
Yeah.
But I digress. This argument that 5% are invading the theaters and we need to stand up to them like they're some invading force. They're just a loud minority, and it's the MCU has raised the game.
Yeah.
Like to the extent that Warner Brothers, who used to own the game, when they started putting that, like, oh yeah, we're going to do the same thing, theirs flopped big time. Hard flopped, like critically and financially.
Yeah.
They flopped hard. And they had to go back and regroup because Marvel raised the game.
Yeah.
They raised the bar. And you're not just doing spectacle and woos and wows and theme park stuff. You're actually having character development and psychological things going on with these complicated characters and villains.
If Justice League came out like before the first Avengers, it might have done okay. Might have done okay. But the MCU has let us see, oh, this is what an interweaving universe of movies and characters is supposed to look like. Mm-hmm. What is that? And that's basically what happened.
Sorry to say, but
yeah.
Yeah. And even with all these facts, it still punches a hole in his motives, because it's funny that he's mentioning these types of movies, but it's funny that he singles out Marvel.
Yeah.
You're like,
Because
of
you know
every...
because DC flop. And
No, but also because the Joker came out. He's the one that brought Joker to Warner Brothers.
Oh, I forget about that.
It's like, oh, okay, Marty. It's like you're looking hardcore conflict of interest right now. Because the Joker is based on at least 2 of his movies. We've got Taxi Driver, you've got King of Comedy. It is hardcore, like a Scorsese genre film. Hardcore.
With just a smile.
Just... So, I mean, to say that these types of movies you just look like a hypocrite. Because you're doing the same thing, only with the competitor. Like, you're in bed with the competitor saying, oh, these guys over here, they're no good. These guys are worthless. But these guys, they're different. I swear, they're different. Well, that's because you're invested in that.
Yeah.
And and everybody else is invested in both. So that's why it's looking a little like, okay, Marty, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, anything else on
that? Okay. I guess not. But
Okay.
yeah, so yeah, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. Where do you stand on it? Even I mean, like I said, people like Jennifer Aniston coming out and some of the other actors and actresses making statements. Like, it just seems like sour grapes.
Yeah.
It's like because you look at the MCU and there are some high caliber actors in the MCU. I mean, we had Ed Norton, Robert Redford, Ben Kingsley. I mean,
Ben Kingsley.
Yeah. Who was the Mandarin?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, and that's just what I can think of off the top of my head. It's like, there are some, even Brie Larson is an Oscar-winning actress.
She is.
And
Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think what you will about Brie Larson or whatever, but, the caliber of actors is there. Absolutely there.
Oh man, his name's escaping me. Thor's dad, Odin.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't think of the actor's name.
Oh shoot, Anthony Hopkins.
There we go, Anthony Hopkins.
Like, come on, like, it's like, come on, you're better than this, Martin Scorsese. You're better than this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about it. If you guys have anything else to say, let us know in the comments below. We'd appreciate it. So let's move on to number 3.
So, earlier in the show, we told you about the number 1 movie of the week. Well, that movie, now that we've both seen it and we have the time to do it, we are going to do a movie review on probably the best movie I've seen this year. Like, I saw Endgame the night it came out. Endgame was amazing, but The Joker, oh boy howdy. Like,
you done make Quin say, boy howdy.
there's not many movies in existence that can make me cry, and it made me cry twice.
Aw.
And the other movie is Madeline, but that's a whole nother thing.
Madeline?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
I'll tell y'all about that story later.
No hate. To each his own, right?
But The Joker, like, from beginning to end, was a very well-crafted story of unsure and uncertain but certain sanity. Yeah. What did you what were like your initial thoughts when you watched it?
So I went, usually when I go into a theater and I have high expectations for the film, I'm usually disappointed. Like, 9 times out of 10, I'm disappointed. And because I write on the side, I watch a lot of movies, and I love film, and I love this thing that Martin Scorsese talks about. Like, I love the emotional and psychological experiences from one human to another, conveying to each other. I love that, and I love psychological thrillers and action movies and that kind of thing. It's like this this is not a popcorn movie.
No.
Like, yeah, I mean, Avengers Endgame. It's like I'll give Martin Scorsese this is still a Scorsese-esque movie, so I'll give Scorsese I'll award him that there are high art movies, there are popcorn movies, and there are like art movies. Mm-hmm. Like you're not expecting to go into I always say Fast and Furious, but I love that franchise. I own every one but the last one. I love those.
Yeah.
But I'm not expecting high caliber art or drama from this. I'm expecting popcorn and entertainment.
I'm expecting
and that's fine.
A dude open this car door, put his hand out, and flip a missile. That's what I'm expecting.
Yeah, exactly. Show me how many ways when I was a kid that I could do with a Hot Wheels and do crazy stuff. Like, show me that in real life. I want to see that. But this is not that.
No.
This is not a feel-good movie.
No.
You will not feel... If you feel good watching this movie...
We need to talk.
You need to talk to a therapist.
Yeah.
In fact, while we were watching this movie, there was a dude sitting like 2-3 rows over that was like laughing at the wrong times. And I think he was like with his wife or whoever. And I think he was trying to be that guy that's like, ha 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 ha. It's like I'm about to rip you out of your chair.
I had talked to one of my other friends when I went to the museum the other day. He was at work, and he had went and saw it, and he said there was a girl that was sitting next to him, and she was kind of nerdy looking and everything, but she, was fine, and then when Arthur started killing people, she started, like, clapping and laughing. I'm like, oh, no, I would have moved over a seat.
Yeah, I don't... So there are obviously critics out there, and some people in the media that think that this movie can be a catalyst for people like that.
Yeah.
And I understand that. I get that. But by and large, the vast majority of people are sane and are not going to get that kind of rise out of it. Yeah, there's crazy people. Like, who is this guy? My son started telling me about this guy. Well, I mean, I knew who he was. Andre, he's like a shock jock. Like, he's got a show where he does just the craziest stuff, and he's got memes and stuff. Like, apparently on one show, like, he had somebody on, and he literally... This is what my son was telling me. The dude vomited on his desk and then proceeded to eat it.
The Andre Bishop show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, shock jocks, people that... But in real life...
Aaron Andre. That's what
Aaron
it is.
Andre,
Aaron
yeah.
Andre.
So, in real life, he's not actually like that. It's like, it's a performance. And it's disgusting.
It's super gross.
But... And to me personally, I don't appreciate... pushing the envelope for the sake of pushing the envelope, because how far do you go? I mean, what's next? We're gonna kill somebody on stage because nothing else works anymore. You know what I mean? There's that argument that people like that will, oh yeah, let's be different for the sake of being different, and let's laugh at things to make people uncomfortable because it's funny. It's like
he had the lady that plays... What's Dom's girlfriend's name in Fast and the Furious? Somehow this keeps coming back into Fast and Furious.
Michelle Rodriguez's
her.
character.
He had her on the show one time. And I don't watch the show, but I saw this as like flipping through channels at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, oh, okay. And he was sitting there interviewing her, and then he had a dude run across the stage, and he's like, will you stop running across my stage? And he picked up a lamp and busted across his face, and like dude was just out the rest of the show. And I'm like, and she was like, I don't know what I signed up for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they do that kind of stuff on wrestling. So I mean,
yeah. But I guess she wasn't told, or she was just acting and made it feel like...
From what I understand, and this is what my son was telling me, is that they filmed the show for like 2 hours, and then they cut like the best 30 minutes out of it. And and they don't know what they're going on for. It's supposed to be like, well, they know who he is, and you know that it's going to be crazy. But like, I mean, apparently everybody gets in on this because there was even an episode where he's sitting there having the show, and George Clooney, like his desk opens up, George Clooney walks out and just leaves the stage.
What?
And he closes the desk and goes about his business.
Okay.
It's just to get a rise out of people. It's just to get a reaction, right?
Yeah.
So to a certain extent, that's funny. Like, I mean, that's random. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But when you get into morally gray area where you were talking about violence and just, I don't know, to me, the throwing up and eating it stuff is just, that's too far.
Yeah.
Because you're not human anymore. You know what I mean? So I mean, when you get into areas like that, that to me is too far.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate and understand that everybody has a different line, you know?
Yeah.
And to me, that's where the line is. And that is the point of his existence, is to find that line and push it. Which is, he's an anarchist, which is in line with Joker.
Super in line with Joker.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
he wants to find your line and he wants to push it over the edge.
Just give it that one bad day.
Yeah.
And I mean, dude, he was having bad days before, like, he finally snapped.
Yeah.
But it, whew.
So I do want to say, okay, so we haven't really gotten spoilery yet, but we're about to get super spoilery, and that's usually how we do our reviews. And I forgot to mention this, is that we do just like a review in general, and then we get spoilery, so that people who are curious, who don't want to be spoiled, can watch up to a certain point.
Shade, turn it off.
Yeah. So I'll just say I thought it was a 9 out of 10.
10 out of a 10.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
1,000 out of 10. It's right now, it's my second favorite movie of all time.
It was almost a 10 out of 10. The only reason is because just when I think of other, like when I judge it against itself and other comic book movies, 10 out of 10, no questions. But when I think of like the greater, like every other movie out there, is it like super hardcore caliber, like the best of the best? Maybe not. But it's close.
It's super close.
It's really good.
It's, like like looking back on it, like watching it, not knowing any of the story, anything that's gonna happen, like, and one thing happens after another, like for like a split second, I felt bad and I sympathized with them, and then like are we out of like, everybody who's not gonna do the thing? Okay, cool.
About to get spoilery. Bye bye.
All right, super spoiler. So like when he was, first time the kids ran up, took his sign, and like they jumped him and everything.
Yeah, okay, so that was in the trailer.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's bad. It was worse when I saw it. I was like, dang.
Yeah.
They're like all intentionally just beating this dude up. He didn't say nothing. He's just trying to get his sign back. Mm-hmm. And then the other guy gave him the gun, and then I was like,
and then set him up.
Yeah. And then I was like, jeez. If I had, and he already had mental issues because he was going to see a therapist.
Yeah, and it was obvious. Everybody knew.
And so I was like, why would this dude give him a gun anyway? Why would you do this? Then made him lose his job, which I understand what he did to him later. It's
you understand.
I like
you sympathize with the brutal murder.
Like
of a
it's
man
those times, and it's those times like when someone screws you over, and it's like, I want the worst thing to happen to you, but you know that you shouldn't, because
you're sane.
Yeah, and like you hold that impulse back, and it's like, I'll just throw it in my mind. It's like, whatever, you just go live your life. I live mine. Mm-hmm. He's like, I want the worst thing to happen to you, but I'm gonna do it. Mm-hmm. And then
and he let the other guy go, and to me that shows. I mean, there's two ways to look at this film. There is like the side that has nothing to do connected to any comic book fictional stuff, and you look at it, I think is where some of the media is looking at it. It's like, okay, this is a psychological. It's a movie kind of like Taxi Driver. Falling Down is another movie like that where it displays. It's a character study of a person that hits the end of their rope and cracks. They don't, I mean, we watch several movies where people hit the end of the rope and then they climb back out and we cheer for them. Well, this guy doesn't climb back out. He breaks.
He's like, he falls to the end of the rope. He looks at the rope. He burns the rope.
Yeah.
He's like, no, this is my home now. And I mean, and then the perspective that it gave on Thomas Wayne from like a different view. Like anytime you think of Thomas Wayne, you always know it from Bruce Wayne / Batman's point of view. He's like, oh, this upstanding guy who was a doctor who was trying to help Gotham, and he died just slightly trying to protect his family. This time, he was a dick. Like I didn't
straight
like,
up.
Yep. Like he was,
and yeah, so much so even like the I'm losing my words here. The shock, the surprise of the twist that he could potentially be Thomas Wayne's son.
Yeah.
And even like so Joker obviously is an unreliable narrator, and we're seeing it through his eyes.
Yes.
From his perspective.
Oh,
so much so that even the end of the movie, there's doubts that the entire thing even happened. Because when he goes into the Arkham Hospital, which isn't yet the Arkham Asylum, it's really run down, and it's yellow walls, and then at the very end, bright white walls. It's really nice.
Which that could be like one of two things in my opinion. It could be after the fact, like after that night on the police, when it's the police car and everybody's surrounding him, and that he could have got caught, and then he just got put in there. Like he's the Joker at this point; he can get out.
Well, yeah.
So I mean,
but just the fact that they looked like two different places.
Yeah.
And they were obviously the same place. Some people are saying, well, that shows that the whole thing was just in his head.
But we know that Batman is created. We know that Batman exists. We know.
Do we?
We do. we do.
Or is this? Because this could potentially just be a one-off.
Yeah. But Bruce Wayne's parents got shot.
In his head, potentially.
But Joker wasn't around. Like
this could just be a narrative playing in his head.
The whole thing?
The whole thing.
I refuse.
I don't necessarily believe it, but I do get that argument that could be the thing, because he's obviously an unreliable narrator, and we know that because he had his own Tyler Durden, Zazie Beetz character.
I thought she was going on a date. I was like, oh man, his life's turning around. Everything's fine. And then he goes into the house, and I'm like, what is this? I couldn't take it anymore. I was like, no. The whole time?
Yeah.
Who got him coffee then?
Yeah, I saw that coming from a mile away. Just because, that's how I think. Like, when I'm writing, it's like, okay, how could this... Like, I did a couple years back, I was at a film forum thing, and we had to, direct a scene. And it was, somebody coming home talking about how they were home. This kid was coming... this parent was fussing at a kid because the kid was home late. And they were home late because they were playing with a friend or something to that effect. And so we had to direct the scene with other people, obviously, and make it different. And so I was like, okay, I want you to act like your friend is an imaginary friend and nobody else knows who you're talking about. But this person is real. I'm like, but that doesn't make sense because of this. I was like, but if you think about it this way, and they're like, okay. So we did it, and everybody's like, what? So that's how I think. It's I love those psychological thrillers, Fight Club, just for that. You know, so and some people have, you know, Fight Club is so beneath me and all that kind of stuff. Like, whatever, dude.
Get out of here.
Just the fact that I like Fight Club. I almost wore a Fight Club shirt just because Joker kind of falls in line with some of the elements or whatever. But I didn't want to be prejudged by people because it's like, oh, I know who you are. Or you're a fan of Fight Club or whatever. It's like you're so juvenile. But anyways,
Get out of here.
yeah. Like, just watch it for the merits of it and stop. Whatever. You're really just trying to separate yourself so you can feel better than somebody else. But anyways, let's get back to the Joker.
Yeah.
Okay. You're awful. Anyways, so yeah, there's two sides to look at it. Obviously, there's like the psychological drama, thriller, character side, and then it's a comic book movie and how everything plays together into the greater DC universe and all that kind of stuff. And personally, like, I was looking for them to succeed on both merits. And I think they did.
They did.
I think they hit every note they should have hit.
Yep.
Because if you don't hit all the notes on the comic side, yeah, Todd Phillips said, "Oh, this isn't a normal Joker movie. Don't go in expecting." But I thought, in general, they hit it well enough.
Yeah.
You know,
they did. Like, it wasn't until the end when he was like, the moment where he had Robert De Niro's character say, when you bring me out, call me Joker, because that's what you called me on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, it's about to get bad. and it got bad, and I was like, okay. And then, like, after he shot him, he's like, and I was like, oh yeah, you're the Joker now. Great.
Yeah, like that transition. Like, okay, so as a comic book fan. Okay, so the moment where he literally says, "I had a bad day," like, I was just like, "Oh!" It's like out the chills. It's like I geeked out over that moment. And I grabbed Lady. I was like, "Oh, you had a bad day," and she's just like, "Okay."
I don't know what that means. I'm like, I know what that means, and it's about to be the end.
Yeah, because the difference between Batman and Joker is one bad day, right?
One bad day.
And if you've seen sorry, I think the dog just farted. Apologize. So, if you've seen the Joker's origin story, and I'm escaping the name of the comic right now, like the definitive, the big one.
It's good. Make me forget. It's not the Killing Joke.
Yeah, the Killing Joke.
The Killing Joke. Okay.
So the Killing Joke, like, that explores that, and there are multiple versions of the Joker's origin story, and that is part of his psychosis and all that kind of stuff, and part of his narrative. Yes. So that's why I felt it was okay to take liberties with the Joker.
And they took some liberties. I mean, yes and no. I mean, they took liberties. I feel like this could just end up being a Joker's origin, because, like, in current comic continuity, Batman found out there was 3. That's just one. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and if you look at the Bruce Wayne character, his age, like, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is kind of old.
He'll be an old man by the time Bruce Wayne's Batman. Bruce Man's Batman. Bruce Wayne is Batman.
Yeah, so he could potentially just be an inspiration for the person that becomes the Joker. Like, I could, if they do a sequel... And classically, normally Joaquin Phoenix veers away from sequels. He's not interested in doing sequels, but he has said publicly, "I can't stop thinking about this character." And I've called Todd Phillips and asked, "What else can we do with the Joker?" So they're playing coy with it, but there could be a sequel.
If the sequel does happen, it'll be different from this, but the same. Like, it would still be, like, super into like the psychosis of it and everything. But if Joaquin Phoenix is still Arthur and he's still the Joker, which he is now, and he's older, it's like closer to, like, Bruce Wayne being Batman, they could It's an easy way to reverse his age. There's one thing that they could do.
Throw him in a vat of acid.
Throw it in the vat. Throwing him in the vat. His hair turns green for real. His skin turns white. It tightens up.
They did say that they were trying to avoid that.
No.
Do
it.
Well, that was one of the things that they were trying to do is make this more grounded in reality and reverse engineer. So like, how does a man become like that? You know, without being thrown in a vat of acid.
Oh no, he's already crazy. The vat's not making him more crazy. Yeah. It's just reversing his age.
Well, they're just saying as far as like, okay, so throwing you in a vat of acid gives you white skin and green hair.
It was a vat of chemicals at Ace Chemicals. It's not really acid.
So I mean, outside, maybe that's a contention that hardcore comic book fans have with the movie. But that's one of the things that they were trying to veer away from because they felt that was one of the more fantastical things that, you know, that wouldn't ground their movie in reality.
The one thing I went into with this movie was like, at the end of it, could I see this man fighting Batman on top of a skyscraper? And I was like, yeah, most definitely, yeah.
I had my doubts up until the show scene at the very end, because even in the Killing Joke, and even in like Batman the Animated Series in the comics, Joker loves an audience.
He does,
and there's even a scene where he does that in the comics, in the Killing Joke, right?
Yep, there is.
So
kills the whole crowd.
Yeah. So I mean, he went even further in A Killing Joke. So the comics are even more hardcore, you know. But there were also so obviously the element where Bruce Wayne was brought in and killing his parents and the birth of Batman, right? Mm-hmm. I think without that element of hope, that the movie would have been like
dark,
super dark.
It's like, oh, okay, Batman got created from this. Cool. One day he will be stopped. It's just like.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's what balanced out the movie, because if they wouldn't have had that, you could tell at the end of the movie where they were starting to like veer into like bring it around. It's like, okay, now we're showing you this is a fictional story and this is tied to the Batman universe. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think they were saying, okay, now we've gone dark, now we're pulling you out of that. And as far as narratively, I think that was smart, because you don't want people to end the movie and just be like when I watched Taxi Driver, I was like, I felt gross. Wow. It's similar because like he Robert De Niro's character in Taxi Driver becomes obsessed with a political guy or somebody running for office, kind of like Thomas Wayne type thing. And he goes off the rails and tries to murder the guy. And I can't remember if it succeeds or not. I think he does. But it's the unwinding of the human psyche, and it's an exploration into darkness, and if you're ready to take that ride, I mean, people watch the ID channel while they're sleeping, so I can't see how you could really complain that this is too dark. Like when you're watching literal, real life stories about
murder.
Exactly.
And I mean, from this darkness was born a night.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight. Yeah. So
I mean, to show that that there will be an answer to it is a glimmer of hope that I love that they included. I could definitely see if they did a sequel, I could see them tying they're in and out on rumors whether or not this is going to be tied to the Robert Pattinson Batman story.
Do it.
The way they're talking about the Robert Pattinson Batman, about it being more tied into reality and the detective side, like technically I could see this movie being a prequel to the Christopher Nolan Batman because it was tied into a reality. Mm-hmm. However, I could also see this being like that being the genre for Batman. Like in the Marvel movies, each hero kind of has their own genre,
like,
right?
Thor's super high fantasy. Y'all couldn't see my hand. It's up here, right over here.
But it's higher than that.
But like Captain America, it was more like a war movie every single time.
Yeah, like a spy thriller kind of.
Yeah. Iron Man, I don't know what you would call that. Just a regular comic book movie, I guess. Well,
Yeah,
not regular, but it's not
Corporate espionage.
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
know.
really though, like in every single movie, except no, also in 3. 3 was disgusting though, but
It was okay.
but yeah, like even with those movies, that's what it was like. Huh? Thanks for
Yeah.
pointing that out to me.
So I could see that psychological thriller being the Batman genre, and that fits perfectly with the character of Batman. That's succinct, and I could see it. Okay, so maybe Joaquin Phoenix doesn't want to sign a multi-movie contract and be the Joker throughout these movies and show up and go ha ha ha, boom bam, and go to jail. But potentially, I could see if they do one more, like him living it up as the Joker, and he's definitely he's by no means a mastermind like the
that's
Joker.
the other element. That was the other thing. I forgot about that. Yeah, because he wasn't. He was just kind of playing into what everybody was
Definitely.
like. Yeah.
He tripped into a movement that was already happening.
Yep.
He fell into that.
That he accidentally caused.
Yeah. So I could see potentially one of the people he's inspired, like he's having a moment, like, oh, ha, ha, ha. Somebody walks up, boom, and then steps in the new Joker. And he's all that, but he's way more dangerous because he's calculated.
Or he meets someone in the asylum if he's in the asylum. And yeah.
And somebody
and
just takes that from him.
And he gives them the groundwork to become that.
Yeah.
But he doesn't at first. Like, they're like, I won't be the Joker, though. And they, like, end up going out there and they're doing this as Red Hood. And then Vatichemicals.
No, let's keep away from the Vatichemicals. I never understood that element. I mean, I get it, comic booky, whatever, but I could go without the Vatichemicals.
The Vatichemicals really is just, it's like, it's a pool of transformation is what it really boils down to.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's symbolic for sure.
It's like, no matter who you were going in, when you come out. Yeah.
And that's another thing with his laugh. Like I heard that there were 3 different laughs in the movie, but I didn't. Maybe like the second one in between was kind of hard to distinguish, but for sure, when he laughed and the way he was trying to hold it back and choke it back, and he was literally choking on it, and it was painful for him. Like it was hard to watch, and I don't know how he did it, but like to have sympathy to watch him struggle with that, like he can't help it and he's trying hard and he knows this is inappropriate, and it's like that's crazy. Like I literally felt bad for him until obviously when he made the turn and it was like, bruh, wrong road. But I mean, I think that's what makes it a great movie, is that they made the character sympathetic. But I also got to say, like, I mean, they're obviously succeeding at this because this movie could potentially be $1 billion movie.
Yeah.
Like I think they're like 500 million right now. Like they're halfway there in week 2.
They can do it.
And right now, the movie has already made more money than Justice League. And it's got a stronger hold from week to week on the box office than Wonder Woman and Aquaman combined.
Wow.
So like they did well, and it was like, okay, the first week they did well, second week they did well. Joker's doing better in the second week than they did.
Oh.
So
yeah, $1 billion. Here we go.
Yeah, and this movie, okay, so it's an outside. There's so many reasons why it shouldn't be succeeding the way it is. For one, it's a villain movie, and villain movies don't typically do as well.
What villain movies have there been?
Maleficent.
Oh,
like
that's
other
anti-hero
villain.
At this point.
Yeah, other anti-hero movies or villain movies.
But this one's a straight villain movie.
Yeah, no doubt.
There's no, yeah.
And it's an outside the DCU kind of like a dark thing or whatever, and like dark psychological thrillers that are not feel good movies.
DC Dark.
Usually, he's honestly trying to pitch that to DC, and they're just like, well, we'll wait and see how, you know.
$1
Don't get too
billion
excited.
later.
Yeah.
So DC Dark, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully this gets Disney's attention, and they let Marvel start going Marvel Knights and stuff like that, because they've got Blade, they've got Moon Knight coming.
Yeah.
How do you do those characters and you don't go dark?
You just add a lot. You just add more blood.
Yeah, it's like
That's it.
It's hard to keep it PG-13. Even the original Blade movies were rated R.
They were.
So, with the success of this, Disney might go, okay, Marvel, go ahead and do your...
Go ahead. You get 3 rated R movies every 2 years.
Potentially.
I
That's a lot, I think. Maybe
is-
one every year.
I mean, they could do Blade, they could do Deadpool, and then they could do whatever else they want.
Yeah. there was a meme out there where somebody was like, a critic headline was like, don't take your kids to see this comic book film. It was like, yeah, that's what rated R means.
Yeah.
It's like if you had issues with Deadpool being rated R and you took your kids,
What?
first of all, you're an idiot.
Why
Because
would you do that?
yeah, that's what R-rated means. Like,
Don't do that.
yeah, like come on.
All right.
So yeah, so
I think that's it. Okay.
let's see. I loved the Mommy Dearest part of it, where he was a victim, and he, like, the entire time he just embraced his victimness or whatever. Which, yeah, so I get the argument, the media argument, but at the same time, like, movies like this are valuable because they explore the darkness and all that kind of stuff, and and you can get something out of them. And granted, I mean, knock on wood, nothing bad has happened, and there have been guards and things like that, but
No one's taking any chance.
this isn't the first movie like this. So the fact that you keep shining a light on it and saying, this is that, it's obviously not necessarily that, but the more they keep putting their finger on it and trying to make it something that it's not, then it would suck, but it's almost like it would be a self-fulfilling prophecy, you know.
20 years down the line, we will not look at this movie in the same context.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just the climate that we live in today.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if Scorsese can make other movies that explore the dark underworld of gangs and violence, and I mean, the guy that murdered Jimmy Hoffa with the Irishman, then and those movies not be held up as like, oh, this is Scarface. People just want to be like Scarface. We shouldn't have movies like this. It's like most people can tell the difference between fantasy and reality, and even with movies like this, they don't shy away from letting you know that this is the bad guy. You know, there's no holds bars. You know, it's like he's having a moment. There will be an answer.
yeah.
You know, even in Scorsese movies, there's a rise and a fall.
Yep. Even if the answer doesn't come right away, it will come. And when it comes, it's going to sound like this. I guess my last thing, Martin Scorsese, I challenge you to make a Superman movie. Please.
Yeah, I mean, he was in Shark Tale, so.
I mean, yeah.
And he made Hugo, so, I mean.
All right.
Anyways, yeah, so I thought it was a great movie. I loved it. I'll probably see it again, even though it's not a feel-good movie. I'll definitely watch it again just because it was a great movie. Okay. So I'm also seeing some people saying, "Oh, if you want to go see a real dark movie, go see this." And it's like, why the hate? Why the hate? Just to separate yourself as like, oh, I'm high art. You know, it's the same Scorsese argument that's going on right now. It's like, but this is Scorsese. Yeah. So, I mean, if I don't know if this has Scorsese's stamp of approval, then you and your social media posts do not have that much credibility. So, anyways, I think that's it. You got anything else? I could talk about this and just go on, but it is already 11:39, and we apologize for going late. I knew we hit this at like right at 11. And I was like, oh crap. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for staying. We hope you join us live on YouTube next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. And please like and subscribe and hit the little bell icon.
Ding.
So you know when we drop a new video. And podcast listeners, please leave us 5 stars in your podcast app and check out the website at www.broken.picturesno.com. And also don't forget, I've got some new merchandise on our streaming store. So go check that out.
There's not a thing.
Yep. I'll put the app or the link in the description below. But this is Dylan.
I'm Quinn.
And thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. If I can get this. Come on.
Almost there. We got. Oh, there. Wait.
Nay. So, oh my gosh, it's freezing. Okay, so can you just talk to folks while I get.
Hi, everybody. You know what the most difficult thing is to do is making a mouse work. But
I think I got it.
Okay, right. We got it.
See you again. Peace.
Bye.